I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Yep. This actually happened to me at an actual wedding during the actual kiss, and it actually sucked. But it was too late for me to run away and start another career, so I just kind of went like this and walked backwards down the aisle. Now, whether you're new to the wedding industry or you've been filming for years, you already know you need to have skills with one of these things. This gimbal is in my hands about 90% of each wedding day, and for good reason. Stabilized footage just looks better. There's about 1 million ways to use a gimbal, and I'm trying to keep these videos short for you guys. So in this episode, I'll cover my personal setup and some of the movements I use the most. I'll break down how I approach specific scenarios in future videos. Let's get into it. The first thing I do on wedding day is I get my camera set up and balanced on the gimbal. A balanced gimbal will last longer and perform better than an unbalanced one. I'm not going to really go into how to balance it into this video, but just know that you should learn how to balance it and balance it quickly. I do it every time I remove the camera to change a lens or to swap out a battery. That story in the intro is totally true, by the way. Turns out, battery levels are more of an estimation once you get below 10%. I went home and ordered this extended battery grip that night. You can see I've already worn the grips off this thing, but the battery lasts forever. I haven't seen it dip below 50% on even the longest wedding days. Highly recommend. Also, you'll notice I have my gimbal set up on a monopod. That's because it's better this way. The extra length makes it easier on my back to get low shots, and the extra reach helps me get high shots quickly, like when a photographer decides they really want to be right in front of me in the middle of the aisle. But don't worry, all you normies are covered because every move I'll share in this video can be captured with the standard gimbal setup. The biggest difference between a pro and an amateur with a gimbal is intention. Pros don't just whip the gimbal around trying to add movement to every single shot. They use the gimbal purposefully to reveal something in the scene or to draw the viewer's attention to something specific. Remember, the whole point is to tell the story of the wedding day. So while quality camera movement can be great for the film, sloppy shots can be a distraction. Now there's a lot you can do with a gimbal, but let's start with the basics, slider shots. This is where you're pushing forward, pulling backward, or sliding side to side at a consistent speed. If I were starting over tomorrow, this is the one move that I'd learn to master first. The key is consistency. You want to move like you're on rails. So keep the gimbal going at the same speed from start to finish, and don't raise or lower the gimbal throughout the entire move. I don't usually walk with slider shots. I'd prefer to just kind of spread my feet and slide with my hips. When I walk, I tend to bounce up and down too much for a slider move. Also, it really helps to be in PF mode, which is where your gimbal will only respond to side movements and won't tilt up and down. To lock in the shot even more, I'll line it up and then hold down the trigger, which keeps the camera from twisting. If you're using it to kind of push alongside a table to show the table settings, try to get some depth. Adding elements to the foreground or background will make it more interesting than just a flat shot. Okay, next up, tracking shots. Now, this category kind of lumps in a bunch of different shots, including walking with a couple, orbiting around a subject of interest, or panning with a moving subject. Walking with the couple is a standard shot, and we use it a lot. Nothing fancy here, and it's pretty easy to capture. I just try to get a decent composition and walk smoothly with the couple. Since I'm probably taking the couple away from the photographer anyways, I'll sneak in a few close-ups before I ask them to start walking. I'm all about efficiency. Nowadays, almost every photographer is going to line the couple up with their entire wedding party and have them walk straight towards their camera while they look at each other and laugh. And we appreciate that. I like to shoot it from the side. I'll punch in to 50 mil or tighter, and I'll shoot it like a 2.8 and try to isolate the couple in the center of the image. Whenever possible, I try to get a different composition than the photographer, so the wedding video doesn't become a slideshow of their photos. Orbiting. Orbiting is probably my favorite technique, and I have to remind myself at every wedding not to overuse it. Orbiting is essentially where you walk around a subject, twisting the gimbal to keep the subject in the frame. It can look really cool when you're zoomed in to get that extra parallax effect with the background, but I don't want to make the viewers sick, so I try to limit myself and just grab a few of these. I use this technique a lot on couples portraits, solos, cakes, fountains, really anything of interest that I can walk around. For me, it's easiest to flip the screen towards me so that I can shoot sideways while walking forward. My body just wasn't built to crab walk smoothly. Panning seems easier than it actually is. After all, you ought to be able to just set your camera down and push your joystick sideways, right? Well, I suck at it. I'm not much of a gamer and my thumbs are not smooth at all. I actually find it easier to just hold the camera steady and rotate my body. Whichever method you choose, just be sure to keep your speed smooth and steady. Craning. I like using the gimbal as a crane more than I do just tilting it up and down with the joystick. It's easy to move straight up and down in PF mode, but switching to PTF mode will allow the camera to tilt for more dynamic shots. Also, adding in a little pan can be cool, but moving in 2 directions is my limit. Any more and it starts to look random. Another crane move is top-down shots, where you point the camera straight down. It's a great way to steal the photographer's flat lays, or add a little extra interest to your dessert table shots. Have a plan. It's really tempting to just kind of float around, basically vibe filming all day long, but I've learned that's a great way to fill up my SD cards with a bunch of trash. Weddings move fast, and these gimbals allow us to adjust quickly, but we don't want to get sloppy. Try to keep the editor in mind and pay attention to the details. I think about the in and out points of each shot. I don't want to bounce back and forth just hoping to get lucky. Now, I'm definitely not saying that I have a plan for every shot on wedding day. I just noticed that when I try to take a second and be a little more intentional with my gimbal, I produce a lot better footage. My last and probably most important technique, static shots. Yep, shots with no camera movement at all. I've been doing this a long time, and I used to add movement to every single shot. But it gets old, and there's nothing wrong with capturing a nice composition with a solid, stable camera. The monopod helps me get a steady shot from eye level. In fact, I usually start each new scene with the camera static. I figure at the very worst, I can add a little dynamic zoom in post. Perfect example is when the photographer is setting up the couple for their shot. I'll get a static shot from the side, let the photographer do what they're doing, and I'll come up with a plan to add camera movement when it's my turn. Saves time and keeps it light for the couple, so everybody wins. Okay, that's what I got this week. Hopefully you picked up a few tips that you can use at your next wedding. Let me know if there's anything I missed though, because I'm always looking for new techniques to keep it interesting. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon with more tips for your next wedding video.